Hey everyone, I'm Kino, I'm here with Seattle Yoga News in the beautiful sunny city of Seattle. As a child, I always liked to read, and I'm an only child, and I really liked to study. I thought it was really interesting to learn about things. My dad always likes to tell the story about how when I was 5 years old, when I first started reading, I used to like to read the encyclopedia. And he thought that was really interesting, and he still tells that story to this day. I don't actually remember reading the encyclopedia, but I do have a pretty good memory for things that I read, so I remember I liked that always from the beginning. I think that growing up in Florida, my grandfather's Japanese, and he was like my primary caregiver. I mean, my parents were definitely around, but they worked full time. They were amazing, and I loved them. But my Japanese grandfather, he was living with us, and he was just always there. So I was very close to him when I was growing up, and I very much identified with being, of Japanese ethnicity and a Japanese background. And I was kind of the only one in my elementary school. So I remember just feeling, I don't know, I think I felt like a little bit different than everybody else, and a little bit more quiet and a little bit more introspective. And I, always wanted to do a really good job. I remember that I kind of really always wanted things I wanted my schoolwork to be really well. I really cared about how things were done. I was never really athletic, so I was never on a sports team. I was never really anything physical. When I got into, when I started high school, I was again really interested in studying, and I graduated fifth in my high school class. I, even enjoyed like math and science and that sort of thing. And I thought that I was probably going to pursue some type of career in academics. I always saw myself continuing to study and continuing to work in the academic field in some way. Probably the biggest thing that happened is when my grandfather passed away when I was almost 9 years old, and he died of cancer and of a pretty slow buildup into cancer. And I can look back now and I can see that was it was a really devastating thing for me, because I felt like I lost my best friend. And I can look back now and I can see that kind of planted some seeds of the yearning to answer some deeper questions in life, like, why are we here, and what is it all about, and where can you find what's important in life, And I don't think I knew at the time that I was sort of asking those questions on sort of a subconscious level. But I can look back now and see that there were periods in my life where I've been, to a large degree, very much searching for those answers. And it was only really when I came to the practice of yoga that it was really possible for me to find any of those answers. I did my first yoga class when I was 19, and it left sort of like a residue inside of me that yoga was a path of sort of spiritual development and spiritual awakening. And my yearning for somehow an answer didn't really take the form of sort of a spiritual path for many years. So yoga was around and was in my life, and I would, do some of the poses, and took an occasional class. But my real type of yearning, my real type of quest really took the form of kind of intensive partying, which I think is what happens to a lot of people. You find out that there's some sort of an unsettled feeling inside of yourself, and then you look for a way to kind of make that unsettled feeling kind of dissipate a little bit. And for me, when I was much younger, the time I'm 19 and a little bit more, then my primary mode for dealing with this sort of unsettled feeling inside was just to dance until I couldn't dance anymore, and just go out and party. And it was sort of during one of these really intensive periods that I sort of woke up and realized that my life wasn't on a really positive track. And that's when I decided to join an Ashtanga yoga class. And it was from the moment I joined the Ashtanga yoga class that I felt like, no, this is the answer that I've really been looking for. And it really sort of set my life back onto this direction, onto a spiritual direction, onto a spiritual path. So my intention to start yoga was to, from the time I'm 22 years old, to really get my life focused on a spiritual path. And then I went to India within 8 months of my first Ashtanga yoga class. And I can look back now and I can see that meeting with Pattabhi Jois and his grandson Arsharat Jois, that meeting, my teachers, is what's really steered the whole direction of my life. I didn't think that I was going to be a yoga teacher. I didn't think that my life was going to be about yoga, but I can look back now and I can see that meeting changed the direction of my life forever in a really great way. I would probably be a lawyer. you know, or working in the academics in some way. Those were the interests that I had. I have a master's degree, and I was planning on eventually continuing that into a PhD, or maybe continuing on to law school, or something along those lines. So I'd probably be, down that road. I still think sometimes, if it would have been useful, even, just to have that education as well. I was definitely interested in politics, and that's something I would have probably been somehow involved in. I always say, I think Marianne Williamson, she tried to run for the U.S. Senate in a really conservative district of the Orange County. And I always say, if the situation presented itself, I wouldn't turn down the opportunity to serve my country. First of all, I love travel, and I wouldn't travel if I didn't love it. Like, I love seeing new cities, I love going to places I've never been before and meeting new people, and I love seeing and experiencing different cultures and really opening my mind and my heart to the yoga practitioners all over the world. I love it. It's a privilege and it's an honor, and I'm really grateful for it every day. And in terms of how do I keep my own balance, well, there are two things that are really important. First of all, I recognize that there's sort of this balance between public and private. For myself personally, I don't know if everyone is like that, but after the end of a long day, if I've been teaching or if I've been talking to a lot of people, the thing that I crave the most is silence. So I don't always like to end the day by going out at night. Sometimes if I've been teaching the whole day, what I really want is silence. So I'll actually go back and just sort of nourish myself with, a long bath or a long meditation, and I will take the time to really just recharge, or even just recharge by zoning out and walking around. Like, I love to go for walks. I also love to do things that are non-yoga related, just like really casual things, just like walk around the city and go get a chai or go grab a juice or talk to someone about politics or talk to someone about, the local news and this sort of thing. And that's somehow recharging as well. And I think my husband and I, we both really share that. Like, we both really enjoy talking and exploring things outside of the world of yoga, although we share yoga intensively. We spend a lot of time together during the week, but I think that the thing that really brought us together was we met in India, and we continue to go back to Mysore, to India, to continue our studies at the Ashtanga Yoga Institute. So when you're in India, you're in such a deeper state. The conversations that you have with people and the time that you spend with people, the time that my husband and I share together in India, it's like so much more intimate than, your average cup of coffee or your average morning breakfast or something like that. So it's like it opens up this whole other intimate space. And because we've shared that, then we come back into our lives, we somehow have this residue of it, so we can kind of tune back into it. And we really do get to spend a lot of time together during the day. My favorite part of the day is, at the end of the day when we get to just be together and just do the little things that couples do, like brush our teeth together and cuddle in bed together and, like tickle each other and that kind of thing. It's like my favorite part of the day, for sure. From my own perspective, I never really set to make yoga a career. I never really set out to make yoga a career path. But what happened is it started happening through me. And at some moment I decided to say, yes, I want to embrace this, and this is sort of what I want to devote my life to. And then when I had that idea, I had a goal. And my goal was, I want to reach 1 million people with inspiration to practice yoga. And I sort of expanded on that goal, and I thought, well, maybe I could reach 1 billion people with a message of yoga. So I think for me, the single most important thing is to identify what is your purpose, what is going to motivate you beyond, financial gain. I'm really not motivated by money. I mean, yes, we all like to earn a living and we have to pay our bills, and it's always good to be rewarded well for your hard work. But the thing that motivates me the most is the idea of sharing this inspirational spark for people to find the true path of yoga. And that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's what I work for. That's what inspires me. That's why I read all my Instagram comments. That's why I continue to teach and travel. And that's why I'm so interested in embracing new students and really getting people on their mats. And I think that what often happens is, if we have a dream, sometimes it takes a long time to identify, what is the essence that's going to inspire you to get up in the morning when you don't want to work for it, when you're tired and you feel like, ugh, where's the juice going to come from? So if you identify your success in worldly measures, like, I'm going to get these 5 achievements, I'm going to pass this milestone. Once you pass that milestone, there may have been decisions that you've taken along the way that may have led to the potential disillusionment of that milestone once you finally accomplish it. But if you identify with your purpose, and you can kind of, maybe with a little bit of help, really identify what is the inspirational thing that's going to get you out of bed every morning, that's going to be in alignment with your moral and ethical lifestyle and your moral and ethical principles. And then all of your decisions will lead you towards not just a life of worldly success or attainment or achievement, but really a life of emotional success, spiritual success, and really kind of, a really whole and balanced life. And it's not that, you snap your fingers and it happens. First you have to do the work and figure out, well, what is really my purpose here? Like, what's going to get me out of bed? What's the thing that inspires me? What do I want to share? What's my contribution to the world going to be? What can I give? And then how can you work towards that each day, right? And then what small step have I done today in order to make that happen? And ask yourself these questions. And the other thing I think that's really important is I believe that all dreams are made with this combination of hard work and humility. Because if you just think, well, I'm fabulous and you should give me everything, then it's like the sense of entitlement and ego. Whereas if you say, this thing I'm working on, I'm going to put in my work every day, and nothing is beneath you. So if it's your turn to take the trash out, you take the trash out. If you want to mop the floors, you mop the floors. If you need to watch 5 YouTube videos on how to program your computer because you can't afford a computer programmer, then you watch it and you do that. Whatever it is that your dream is asking you to do, you got to put in the work every day and do that. Not be too removed from it, and cultivate the humility to put in that work, whatever it is, however long it takes. If it takes you 5 years, if it takes you 10 years, if it takes you 100 years to get back up and try it again each time, so you have perseverance. On the flip side of that, no matter how hard you work, there's an element of receptivity. There's an element of being able to sort of, okay, I've put in the work, and then to be able to relax and receive also. So some people, they only work. And this idea that you have to receive your success as well. And I believe that the seed of receptivity has to do with feeling that you're worthy of the success that you want, believing in your worthiness and saying, I'm worth it, which is different than saying, I'm awesome, give it to me now. Just this sort of, it's almost like this seed in your heart that says, I'm worth it. And it's like a knowingness more than it is this sort of conscious thought that says like, yeah, give it to me. It's different. There's a qualitative difference in the feeling of your worthiness based on who you are on a deep and fundamental level, with the full knowledge that you're willing to show up and put in the work every single day. And that combination, the receptivity based on your own sense of worthiness, along with the humility to put in the work every day, I think is really the key to unlocking the success to anyone's dreams in the world. From an impact perspective, I think the single most transformational thing that's available to every person on earth is to realize a direct communication to the quiet voice of wisdom that's inside of their hearts. To understand that each individual person is holy, and that we have a holiness inside of our heart, that we can hear God's voice if we learn to listen. And if I could look back now and set an intention in order to think about, well, what is it that I'd like to accomplish, I'd love to be able to give people that gift. The gift to be able to hear God's voice, to be able to hear the voice of wisdom and know beyond the shadow of a doubt that it is the truth, and to be able to have that truth be a bridge into lasting peace and lasting awakening, and to have the seed of the truth of our divine nature, to have the truth of our inner being really be available to every single person, not some high and lofty experience that you can only get if you do X, Y, and Z, but to make the real bridge between who you are today and who you are at your deepest and most fundamental level, so that the wisdom of the path of yoga, everything that's good about yoga comes from God. Everything that's good about yoga is the grace of our divine spirit. And it's through the wisdom of the heart that I believe that there is a bridge that's available for every single person here on earth to be able to hear and feel that wisdom, so that we can be kind of like a receiver for divine and unconditional love in every aspect of our life. I think that more than just the physical practice, I think it would be amazing to create that possibility for as many people as possible, for 1 million people, for 1 billion people, because that would change the world.